And welcome back to the show. April is National Autism Awareness Month. Autism Speaks is an organization that's actually dedicated to promoting solutions across the spectrum throughout the lifespan for the needs of individuals with autism as well as their families. Throughout the month, they'll be focusing on sharing stories and providing opportunities to increase understanding and acceptance of people with autism, fostering worldwide support. This year, they're committed to keeping the spirit of the month alive, as now more than ever, they know the autism community needs support, kindness, as well as compassion. Here now to tell us more is the Field Development Manager, NYC at Autism Speaks, Trish Rollins. And Trish, good to have you here with us here on Open. I'll begin with just a simple question about, for somebody who may not be so familiar, share with us a little bit about the signs and the symptoms of autism.
Some of the signs, some people with autism can be reliably diagnosed as early as 18 months old, but the average age of diagnosis is more around 4 to 5 years old. But after 15 months, if your child has limited or no eye contact or unusual eye patterns, like staring at something for an extended period of time, if they have limited or severely delayed response to their name or no response to you calling their name, or not using gestures like pointing at the things that they want and kind of using their hands as their form of communication. Those are some signs for children with autism as early as 15 months old. A little bit later in the age, around after 3 years old, repetitive behaviors, loss of speech, loss of social skills, little peer or no peer interaction. Sometimes they'll play differently. You'll give a kid a bunch of toy cars, and instead of making them go vroom, they'll just line them up in straight, organized rows. And it really does depend on the individual. It's different for everybody, but those are just some of the signs that you might notice in a child.
For your organization, wrapping around services to be able to meet the community that's affected by autism, talk to us about some of the services that you provide for those who have been affected.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, our autism response team is such a great resource for families to reach out to. We have, I want to say, around 50 toolkits on our website. They're all free to access, to download, and they range from the first 100 days of diagnosis, which can be a very overwhelming time for parents when you find out your child is diagnosed, and like the doctor will give you some information, but it's a lot to digest. So the 100-day toolkit is one of our most popular toolkits, and it just kind of gives parents that roadmap of what to do over the next 100 days. And then just throughout the entire lifespan, for their toolkits for sleeping, for different medical issues that they might have, for going to the dentist. There are toolkits for other family members to help them have a better understanding of what autism spectrum disorder is. And then it goes on throughout teenagers, transitioning into adulthood, finding housing, finding employment. We have an online directory, so if you are looking for a particular service provider in your area, that's available on our directory. And our advocacy team works so hard for families. Locally, we have our advocacy ambassadors who work with our local congressmen, and then we have our advocacy ambassadors working on a federal level as well.
So for those persons who are taking part in autism, Autism Awareness Month, an introduction, people are becoming more and more aware. But one of the things that I always ask is about diagnosis, right? Because it begins at the place of diagnosis. What's the average age that we can see for diagnosis for children?
The average age right now is around 4 or 5 years old, but a child can reliably be diagnosed as early as 18 months old. In my own personal experience for working at Autism Speaks for so long, I do feel like I have families that the parent will be a speech language pathologist or something like that. And after a year, they're like, I see it. I know it's happening. Like I could tell already. Others, not until later in life. It really depends on where on the spectrum the child falls and what their needs are. But early diagnosis is just so important, because the earlier they get diagnosed, the earlier they can get the proper treatments to help them to achieve all of their goals in life.
Which brings me to my next question, which is about treatment. What are the treatment options that are available for families who are dealing with someone with autism?
There are a lot of, honestly, it really does depend. So it wouldn't be all of the treatments, but therapy, applied behavioral analysis therapy, it all really depends on what that particular individual needs. Our autism response team is there as a resource for families to help them discuss what their child might need. One of our toolkits is an IEP toolkit, so the individualized education plan. So when students are entering into the school system, the school does a lot to help get them with the right therapies that they need. And we will help them out as they go into their IEP meetings with the schools to make sure that their child is getting all of the services that they're supposed to get in school.
Yeah. And this transition over the last few months, I mean, obviously pretty heavy. We got kids now getting back into the classroom.
Mhm.
What's it been like for you in terms of being able to just keep up and help out?
It's it's been stressful. It's been a challenge, but it's also been beautiful to see some people are thriving in it. There are some students that do really well with at-home learning. That going to school and being in that routine was overwhelming sometimes. So being at home, like some of them are really thriving, some are not, some are regressing because they're not getting all of the right services that they're supposed to get in school. A parent at home with their child could only do so much in terms of occupational therapy. It's not the same as having an actual professional do it. So there's definitely been peaks and valleys.
Yeah. And the virtual component, I mean, it's a struggle. I think it's a struggle for anybody, right? When you think about just an adult, you think about we who are supposed to be technologically connected as adults sometimes aren't as connected as we need to be. So when you pass that on now in the family line, you've got children, and in particular, you're trying to help them out. It does become an added level of stress. So what kind of advice do you recommend for parents and families who are struggling to stay virtual, to stay connected amidst all of this?
I think they just need to do what's best for their particular child, or if it's an adult on the spectrum, just do what's best for them. Everyone has certain rights that they can request, different accommodations for whatever it is that they might need. And, it's tough, but I think it's just something we all have to kind of power through and hopefully come out of this pandemic fully and be on the other side and get back to a different, more normal world than we used to be in.
Yeah, you talked about getting to the other side. And I appreciate your transparency, by the way, because it's rough, right? Sometimes it's stressful, and we're just trying to make the best of literally a bad situation. But when things start to get a little bit better, what do you foresee happening, particularly with the organization as you move forward out of April as we head towards the summer?
Well, we do have all of our walks coming up in the fall. Usually we would have our walks throughout the year. This year we pushed them all back to the fall just for the sake of hoping for more people to be vaccinated and for herd immunity to kick in by the fall. Some of our work walks are still virtual events, but some will be in-person events for families to go to, and that way they can interact with our local service providers, they can interact with our autism response team, get the resources we need, and still gather as a community, but in a very safe and socially distanced plan. It's going to be a walk on wheels car parade, and we have them all throughout the country, all throughout 6 of them throughout New York State. And that's kind of what I'm most looking forward to in the fall, to getting out there and like seeing people face to face again.
Yeah, Trish, thank you so much for being with us. Certainly, we want to continue to bring people information throughout the course of the month. A lot of information, a lot of awareness. Trish Rollins, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All righty, Trish has been with us. I want to let you know if you want more information, visit their website, autismspeaks.org. Follow them on social media at Autism Speaks. Encourage you, please don't go anywhere. Open continues coming up right after this.